MyMac Podcast 951. Upcoming fabricated tittle-tattle, hearsay, rumour, grapevine, gossip.
And welcome everyone to the MyMac.com podcast. We are so happy that you have joined us this week for 2 weekends in a row. My God, how did that ever happen? And, you know, as this show has gone on and on over the years, we make fun of analysts that make predictions about upcoming products a lot, mostly because, number one, they deserve it, because most of what they say is utter crap. But number two, it's just fun. It's just fun to make fun of them. Unfortunately, this week, we thoroughly despise rumor mongering, but we do enjoy a little alleged, by all accounts, scuttlebutt, as the story goes. So that's what we're going to do. This week, we're going to talk about some of the stuff that Apple may or may not be coming up with down the pike. And as much as I would love to start this whole intro over again, I'm not going to. Gaz, how are you today?
Hi, Guy. I'm very, very well. Thank you very much. I say very well. Actually, I'm not. I've got a few aches and strains and pains for various reasons. So
I have no idea what that's like.
I think you probably want to put us on split screen though, if you're going to use the video, because at the moment we're just looking at you.
It was a test.
It was I thought it was a test. Well, I was watching, but those aside, yes, had a very good week. I should have started off with going Sonoma. It's my wallpaper change, which is pretty bad. Now, the reason I say that is because I think I mentioned last week. I can't believe I'm saying last week, because we actually, we're getting regular again.
2 weekends in a row.
Wouldn't at our age? Isn't it nice to be regular? Anyway,
no, let's not go there.
I just said, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? Anyway,
Beach Boys.
I think I spoke about changing my desktop images.
Yes, yes, you did.
And I had a bit of a problem, and it worked. Well, sort of. Because I wanted to change the folder or the album that I was currently using for a different album. And I did that, and it broke. Basically, I got the vineyard view that comes with Sonoma, and that was all very nice, but I don't want that. I've got much better pictures as far as I'm concerned, and I just couldn't get it working. I just could not get it working. So I actually went onto an Apple's discussion thread, which I've put the link in my little piece, so we could probably pop that into Gaz's link, but I won't do a Gaz's link later because I've just talked about it now. There was all sorts of complaints and moans and, references to how to fix it. And the only way I've been able to fix it so far, and it needs fixing properly because I still don't know whether I've fixed it completely, is I go into system settings, I go into the wallpaper, I click on the album, but then I have to open up all of the images, because what you can do in Sonoma is you can click on the folder that you've decided on, and it says show more of the images, because it shows you 3 or 4 of the images. It says show more, which then shows you all of the images from that album within the system settings preference pane.
Sure.
Not that I should call it preference pane, of course. But anyway, you then have to...
It is a preference pane.
Yeah, it's a pain.
Preference pain in the ass.
Yeah. And then if you click on each of those photos, then it will then show those as a rotating to however you've set it up in your settings on the wallpaper, change them every 5 seconds, 5 minutes. No, it does. It does.
Okay.
Once you've clicked on them. However, if you've got 3,000 or 4,000 pictures in that album, you can't particularly go through and highlight or click on each of those pictures. So I hope that a fix comes soon, because there are lots of people complaining about this, and there are various
just make a new smart album.
That's not the problem. It's the fact that it's not picking up that album in Sonoma and running with it in the background. Now, it seemed to work once before, but now I'm not sure whether it's working anymore. In fact, at the moment, I'm looking at it and it's just stuck on one picture in the background, because I get it to change every 5 seconds. And the picture in the background has just been the same since I started this conversation. So there are problems with the wallpaper in Sonoma if you want to choose your own, folks, at this point in time. Some person says, oh, Sonoma. In fact, I saw on that thread quite a nasty comment from somebody saying, oh, thanks very much for your comment, but you need to give Sonoma a lot more time. You're just jumping in with all sorts of processes which don't work. All you have to do is sit and give Sonoma the time that it needs to go through and highlight and index all of the images. Well, that wasn't aimed at me. That was aimed at someone else. And I felt like really going back at this person and say, well, actually, that's not the case, because I have given it several days with several reboots, with several attempts at trying to get it working, and it ain't working. So don't try and defend Apple that way. It is a broken process. It's a bug which some people have got, and Apple have got to fix it. So,
and it worked before. It worked.
Well, it worked before, but it worked very briefly after I had a bit of a problem get it going.
Well, so no, I mean, it worked in previous versions.
Oh,
of the
OS. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
So if it worked then, it should work now.
Yeah. So I hope that I hope that they get
Apple
it
a pass on that.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
So if anybody else has found that issue, let us know. Or if you've not got that issue, well done. Congratulations. I often, and I'm guilty of this as well. Sometimes I go into a thread and say, well, I've not got the problem. That doesn't really help the person who's got the problem, does it? So, and I've got to admit, I have done that in the past. I kind of stopped doing that now because I realize, yes, I may not have the problem, but that really doesn't help anyone else who does have it. So anyway.
Well, you know what that actually tells the other person that's pointed at? Not that you yourself or whoever doesn't have the problem. It's that I don't have the problem and you're an idiot.
Yeah.
So that's really what.
No. Yeah.
No.
Up yours, dear Lord.
Sucks to be you, I guess.
Yeah. Which is not very nice.
No,
especially
really
if it's frustrating you. Anyway,
so,
Mrs.
It's not like some people don't deserve that, but for the most part, just don't.
No, many people do deserve it, but you don't know whether the person that you're having to go at actually deserves it. Anyway, I think I mentioned in the last show that our process of phones going down to a user and then another user and then another user has skipped a beat this time slightly, in so much as my new phone went down to my daughter. However, her phone is not going to my dear lady, Mrs. G, because she says it's too big. And this is the 6.1 inch one that she'd be looking at. No, that's far too big. I don't want it.
Trying to think about when was the last time my wife said that to me.
Yeah. Anyway, she's going for a smaller one, which I'm going to give her. Now, whether that's a reflection on me or not, I'm going to leave that open to everybody. But it's
you're going to give her a mini.
I've got her a mini, baby. I've given it to her, Guy. So she's had it, baby. Fun times. If anybody, we're talking about an iPhone 12 mini, folks. If you weren't sure.
Of course we are.
Of course we are. Anyway, it came. I ordered a second-hand or refurbished one, not through Apple actually, but through another company. Came through very quickly. It's in absolutely spot order, working fine. Had a few problems actually getting the OS to load on it and to transfer over. A little bit like I had with my phone. And I've since seen a few people complaining about the fact that they struggle with getting a phone transferred, especially on older phones, though I had the problem on the newer phone.
Well, what did you have
until hang on a minute, until you've actually updated the phone. And the advice I've seen and the advice I've now used, and it seems to work, is I basically put a dummy account on there, or just get the phone up and running, get it updated, and then reset it and put it in the mode ready to be updated. So it's got the complete updated OS, and then all you need to do is transfer someone's details over to it. Now I did that with Mrs. G's phone, seemed to work fine after I had a few hiccups to start off with. And I've also done it now with the phone that's gone from my daughter and jumped a generation and going to my dad. So when he comes round, hopefully I'll see if what I've done works with his process as well. So yeah, all very good. I'm loving Loki. I don't know if you've watched Loki on Disney. Changing the
I haven't
subject
watched the news.
completely.
There's a couple of shows that I'm going to get started on, and that's one of them, but I haven't
Yeah,
started it yet.
yeah, I'm loving the new series, the new season.
Yeah. All right, I'll have
And
to
it's
check it.
great.
So I liked
In
the
fact,
first one.
yeah, I did, and but I think the second it's gone off quite well. I think even better. So
And let's stick with this for just a second. One thing that Marvel has done that's been very, very smart with the Loki series is because he's not the Loki that we know from the Avengers movies. He's a variant. So that means they can play fast and loose, not only with his past, but with everything going forward. And if they
is he
use,
though? Is he
yeah,
though?
he's a variant.
Is he? Have you watched the second series?
No, I have not.
Is he though? I'm going to leave it there. Right.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm loving the new Loki. I also keeping with the tech side, but not with Apple in particular, but I'm changing to a different voice over IP company. 6 years ago or 6.5 years ago, when we first moved here, we didn't have a landline installed. So basically I used a VoIP a VoIP option so that we could have a pseudo landline because Mrs. G wanted to keep a fixed line for people rather than a mobile, though she never uses this landline phone ever. I'm the one that uses it more. But I've just changed over to actually the company who deliver us. They didn't do a VoIP option when we first joined, when we first moved here, but I went with a company called GigaClear as a local network company in the UK. And they didn't do a VoIP option then, but they're now doing a VoIP option, and it's a third of the price of the company that I'm with. So I'm swapping to them as well.
It doesn't cost, because you're just piggybacking off of your internet. So all they're doing is just maintaining the number and showing where it's going from there.
Absolutely. So
it's not like it's really expensive for them.
No, not at all. So I'm going to go with them, but eventually I think we'll probably get rid of the VoIP number altogether. Although it is useful having a number which you can see is being transferred to you, and you can give to people who you really don't care whether they call you or not.
Exactly.
But they've got to have a number.
I knew where you were going before you even said it. Because we have a similar thing. We have a number here at this house that we've had since we moved into the house in 1997. And that is the number. Anytime there's like forms I have to fill out, and they insist on having some kind of phone number there, and they've gotten sneaky. Now it says mobile number. It's like, yeah, well, how do you know whether it's a mobile number or not? So I'm still going to put this number down. And
yeah.
And so about 90% of the calls that we get in are, scam calls and stuff like that. And our phone actually announces to us who it is that's calling, if that information is available. And half the time it's just like, this is a BS number. Don't pick it up because it's just someone trying to scam you of money. Well, it doesn't really say that, but that's something along those lines. Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm looking to do that. That's all good, and very little on MyMac this week.
Ooh.
So this podcast actually will probably be the longest period. Oh no! Having said that, I am completely lying to you, because I've done quite a lot of research on solar, and I was using MyMac to do that. So yeah. Anyway, how about you? Have you been busy this week? You've been doing anything?
I would love to brag about my various exploits around town. But it's actually been a little boring of late. No big purchases. I mean, I just made a purchase just before we started, because I have one of those fake Chinese based, and I'm sure it's made in China as well, for Elgato, the Cam Link. And I had been using that to connect to a Sony A5100 SLR which I was using for like a webcam, and it looks fantastic. But last week and now this week, it started to like pop out. But this week it's even worse because it's not even showing up in the list anymore. The USB little link for the Sony camera. So very, very quickly, or as quickly as is possible here for me in this house, I got some hardware together, and I'm now using continuity camera on my iPhone 13, and it looks good. I mean, it's fine. But last year when I first started using it, I was having lots of problems, which is why I went to the other thing. And so just before we started to record, I went ahead and just figured, okay, bite the bullet. Plus they've come down in price. And I got an Elgato, what do they call that? Camlink 4K. And so that's on the way, and I should have that tomorrow, which of course means nothing to anybody today. Yeah. So that's like the big purchase that I've made. We don't have any trips planned. And honestly, with everything that's going on right now, it's probably not a bad idea just to hunker down a little bit and just do a podcast every now and then. And just, it's like, everybody is just so pissed off right now. And I get it. I do get it, that why they're angry and all the rest of that. But quite frankly, you stay out of my life. Okay. Can you do that? Your problems aren't
not your problems. Yes,
they're not my problems. And we express sympathy where sympathy is due. And we're not gonna comment on some of the various things that's going on right now. But quite frankly, these problems aren't going to go away because all the parties involved are just such assholes. And it's like you're not going to solve anything, and all you're doing is just making it worse for the average person. And for the most part, they don't care. It's like, well, as long as we get our way, we don't care how many people get hurt. And it's like, okay, well, that tells me everything I need to know. That right there tells me everything that I need to know. So screw you guys, and go jump in a fire, because that's what you deserve. Anyway, not
to put too blunt a point on it.
No, that is exactly the point. And if you're the kind of person that feels sympathy for some of these groups, same thing. Go jump in a fire, because you're just being.
Could I lighten the mood somewhat and go to Gazzy Snippets, please?
Well, almost. I'm almost done. I'm still on the Lewitt 440 Pure microphone.
Oh,
I've added. I listened to it last week.
Is Guy using today?
The Lewitt 440 Pure. The one thing I have added in the chain that I use to record is I've added just a smidge of reverb. And we'll see if it makes it sound any better. Because honestly, I've been listening to our last couple of shows, and I know that you don't do much. You've got your podcaster mic, or podcatcher mic,
Rode Podcaster,
and you've used it forever.
Yes.
And you sound
not
great.
This one. So this is the second one. If you remember, the first one broke. So I've got the two. So this is the second one since pretty much I started podcasting, doing anything semi-seriously. So we're talking the 15 years. Yeah.
And it sounds great.
And it's a USB mic plug straight into the Mac.
In the meantime, microphone, boom arm, audio interface, audio hijack, loop back. And it's like, I don't sound as good as Gaz. And the worst part of all of that, Gaz, that microphone that you have,
You've got one.
I've got one. I should really, one of these times, I should pull it out and just give it a try, because I haven't used it. Forever.
You should.
And I remember when your first one went out.
Yeah.
That I briefly considered sending you the one that I had.
Yeah.
But then I found out that to ship it to the UK was going to cost about as much as it would for a brand new one.
Yes.
And it was like, no.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Not going to do that.
It was, as Steve would say,
No.
Exactly. Okay, I'm done.
Gaz's snippets. Straight in, you see, straight in.
Yeah.
Okay, apparently Ridley Scott will release a 4-hour cut of Napoleon movie on Apple TV Plus. Like 4 hours
Of Napoleon.
Yeah, that's the thing. Napoleon. I mean, he's sort of interesting. I mean, he's a little interesting.
Yeah. You may as well say Bill and Ted.
You missed that, didn't you? You missed that. You missed what I did there.
What?
He's a little interesting.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But
anyway,
the depiction of Napoleon in Bill and Ted's Great Adventure, or whatever that movie was called, that's been like my favorite Napoleon ever. And he went down water slides in his underwear. It was great. I don't need 4 hours of Napoleon. And I know that what's his name is playing Napoleon, the guy that did the Joker. Jokin.
I don't know. So I'm not. Yeah. I'm really not interested.
He's a really
not interested in it.
Something Phoenix. He's River Phoenix's brother, and he's a great actor. I don't know if he's 4 hours of Napoleon great actor. I don't think anybody is. You could bring John Wayne back from the dead. Maybe I'd watch that for 4 hours. I'll tell you, Pilgrim, we're going
anyway. These are Gaz's snippets, so I'm going to move on. Yes. Nearly half of Warren Buffett's 337 million portfolio is invested in Apple. 337 billion portfolio.
Oh my God.
That's the Berkshire Hathaway portfolio. So, eggs in one basket, things can go wrong occasionally. Anyway, let's move on.
A little bit.
Anyway, Genshin Impact, developer with close relationship to Apple, twice tried to evade a 30% cut. The Chinese developer behind the hugely popular Genshin Impact mobile game has twice tried to evade Apple's 30% cut on in-app purchases, according to a new report. So we'll have to see how that relationship actually with Apple goes if this report is correct.
Just don't do it.
No.
You want in-app purchases and you don't want to give Apple their cut. You do it through the web, okay? And Apple now lets you put links in so that you can go ahead and do those kinds of purchases outside and away from Apple. There's a reason why they do that, and it's to protect the users of their ecosystem. And sorry if you don't like that, and sorry if you're a gamer that uses that, but just go outside of the system if you're going to insist on it. Don't tell Apple that they have to maintain the infrastructure and then not get a cut back. Screw you guys.
Apple to spend Apple to spend $1 billion annually on films that premiere in theaters long before Apple TV Plus. I don't see this as a problem. Spending a bit of money, cool. That's fine. We're expecting it, really. Apple Store Online expanding to Chile, or Chile, as I know a lot of Americans say, next week. And a special wallpaper has been released. By the time you're hearing this, it's probably this week. So it's already been released. And if you're in Chile, yay!
Yeah, good for you.
Apple has released iOS 16.7.1 with important security fixes for non-iOS 17 users. So if you get an update, and it'll give you the option, folks, if you can take 17 but you want to stick with 16 for the time being, it may well give you the option of either 16.7.1 or to go to 17. If you don't want to go to 17 yet, go to 16.7.1.
That's exactly
I implore you.
I had to put something on my wife's iPad, and it's the same kind of thing with the iPad.
Cool.
And I gave her the option. I said, you don't have to go to 17 if you don't want to, because I just bought her a new iPad last year. And she was like, oh, well, just go ahead and do the update. So it's like, okay. So it's done.
So you're the one that's in trouble if she doesn't like iOS 17.
I will be in trouble.
87% of American teens own an iPhone. 88% of that 87% expect an iPhone to be their next mobile device. That's good news for Apple, of course.
Apple has always had great retention rates when it comes to their devices.
Apple explains why iPhone 12 was always safe to use in France. iOS 17.1 to address the non-standard test that triggered the non-issue. I love that title. It's brilliant.
Sounds like a non-story.
Oh, and by the way, the Mini, Anne has now, she has got the phone out a few times. Oh, you got a new phone out. Oh, I like that. So many people, mainly women, have seen that phone that Anne's got, the Mini, and gone, I like that. And I look at them and go, well, you should have bought one when it was around, and perhaps it'd still be building one. Anyway.
Well, that's what that's a 5.1 inch. I think because it's
I can't remember.
It's a little bigger than the SE.
5.4. It might be 5.4. Can't remember. But it's wee. It's wee. But of course, it's a bigger screen than she's had before because although it's a smaller phone than she had before, but a bigger screen. That blew her mind. That absolutely blew her mind, guy. And Face ID, she's getting used to that. Anyway, she's loving it. Apparently, a bug caused Apple Watch running iOS 10.1 beta to drain iPhone battery. If you run betas, folks, this is the sort of thing that could happen, so be careful. Apple apparently has released a firmware update for AirPods Pro 2 with bug fixes. Don't ask me how you get that update, folks. I think it's pixie dust. It's basically pixie dust. So just put a little bit of pixie dust on it. Yeah, before you go to bed, and it'll work. Apple has said that the Australian Apple Pay regulations will strife innovation. Governments and organizations, be careful what you try to do because sometimes it can backfire. Whether this is the actual case or not, we shall see. But I like the way Apple are fighting back there. Now, we did mention this last week, I believe, and apparently, here's some figures because I don't think we mentioned these, but Google apparently pays Apple $18 to $20 billion per year to be on Safari's default search engine.
Wow.
It's a lot of money, isn't it?
I was thinking it was like only $1 billion. Only. Yeah, Tim Cook is like, I got some change in the couch.
Folks, can I just highlight, they pay a company that amount of money just to be the default option. How are they making
it's not
that
like
money?
You can't change it.
Hang on a minute. How are they making that money, folks? Just think about that when you always go to Google. Just think about it. I'll say no more. It's a mystery. Here's how Apple TV Plus growth compares to other streaming platforms in the US. So I had to open this link. So here's the full ranking. Amazon Prime Video is up 1% to 22. Netflix is up 1% to 21. The Max, I've never heard of Max, so I don't know who they are.
That's HBO.
Okay, so they're at 15%, same as they were previously. Disney Plus is down 1% to 12. Hulu are at 11%, the same as they were previously. Paramount are up 1% to 8%, which I'm amazed at the amount of advertising there is for Paramount going around, and they're only up 1%. Incredible. Apple TV are up 1% to 7%, and then in 8th place it jumps to a company called Others at 4%, who are down 3%.
Oh, them.
Yeah, Other.
They suck.
This is just the United States, to be perfectly honest with you.
So the good place.
Emirates, that's I think the airline. The airline company, Emirates, has deployed 20,000 Apple iPhones and iPads to their cabin crews.
Oh.
I think Apple loves this sort of stuff, don't they? Yeah. I mean, that device.
Maybe they were flying over a city and just like dropped them out of a Bombay door or something.
Yeah.
Here you go, 20,000 iPhones.
Yeah. No, that's not what they've done.
No.
As Steve would say.
No.
And is also say
is driving us crazy.
He would. The California right to repair bill that was backed by Apple but wasn't backed by Apple initially has now been signed into law, folks. So there you go.
California.
in California. Apple has reached a settlement with Caltech in the $1 billion patent lawsuit. Apple and Broadcom have reached an agreement with the California Institute of Technology to end a patent lawsuit that began back in 2016. Caltech's lawsuit centered around its accusations that Wi-Fi chips made by Broadcom and used by Apple infringed upon its patent technology. Well, they just took $1 billion of that 18 to 20 billion that they get from Google and passed it on.
Well, the one thing that you didn't see in the article was it said terms of the agreement were not disclosed.
Yeah, of course they were.
Yeah.
I love this. There are now do's and don'ts for cleaning your titanium iPhone Pro, guy. Do's and don'ts, right? Be careful. Yeah, here we go. You're cleaning it wrong. For All Mankind has embarked on asteroid mining gold rush in season 4. The official trailer is out. And that's another program that I got into. I wasn't into it initially, but actually quite enjoying that.
Still haven't gotten past season 2.
Yeah, I got into it. Yeah, it was your fault I got into it as well.
I know.
Nanoleaf has debuted a HomeKit compatible downlights. Okay, Gaz. What are you talking about? There's loads out there. But this is GU10 bulbs and lamps. Now, GU10 are those little twisty LEDs, that you put into lamps. So that actually for me is quite interesting. AirTag stalking has led to multiple murders, claimed a lawsuit against Apple. The lawsuit has alleged that AirTags have been used by stalkers in at least 20 US states and that Apple has failed to take adequate action to protect victims. What about all of these other processes that go into stalking people?
Or murdering people. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that as well. Yeah.
You don't, just because you can track somebody doesn't mean that you have to kill them, right? There's a difference there, isn't there? Yeah.
No, I think it's a law in California.
I can track you, so I'm now going to murder you because I can.
No, you can't. New Apple Maps experience comes to Denmark and Greece. Well done them. India will not impose restrictions on MacBook and other laptop imports, and that's official. I wonder why it's abandoning it. I wonder if there was some back-end discussions going on. Apple now, guy, and we did have factories, manufacturing, India, Apple. Anyway, Apple are now and we did have this discussion last week. Apple are now selling USB-A to USB-C cables. We had that very discussion last week.
Yeah, of course nobody else does. So
nobody else
only
does.
Get that from Apple.
The French authority has leaked iOS 17.1 launch date. Oh, yippee do. That's all I can say about that. Apple TV Plus has unveiled a trailer for its Godzilla series, Monarch: Legacy of Monsters.
Ooh, really? We're big Godzilla fans here. I'm gonna have to check that out. I wasn't. Yeah, and we'd actually talked about that, and then I forgot until you just mentioned it again. A rare 20-year Apple Employee Award is up for auction alongside an uncirculated original iPhone. Guess what else is with it, guy? Guess what else is with it? What?
The Apple packaging and the cardboard shipping box from FedEx.
Now, what you don't see is the auction for used Steve Jobs Kleenex that was also coming up at that same time.
I've already bought them all.
Just what you need to clone yourself your own Steve Jobs.
All. I've already bought them all. It's too late. I've already bought them.
So you got one growing in the back there? You got a Steve Jobs back there growing?
Absolutely. I've got his DNA, so I'm actually growing a new Steve Jobs. Yeah.
Good job.
What has now become vintage, Guy? When Apple makes its products vintage? Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
the first Apple Watch.
Yeah, incredible.
Aha, I saw that story. And if you have a gold one, it's just as vintage. Good job spending $10,000 on an expired watch. Way to go.
And that, folks, is the end of Gaz's snippets.
Okay. Oh. I feel very active in Gaz's snippets today. I just could not keep my mouth shut. There was so much in there that just totally hacked me off. But that's okay. That's the fun. That's the fun of Gaz's snippets.
Nothing new there, really, is there?
Nothing, absolutely nothing there. Of course, Gaz is like, well, that's not really the point of Gaz's snippets, but okay. We'll just go with that.
Just go with
it.
I have to.
Now, as I said in the beginning, we have spent an inordinate amount of time over the years and years that we've been doing this podcast, making fun of analysts, especially ones like Minji Kuo, who just come out with
Minji Kuo
rumors. And they come out with all this stuff, and nobody seems to really keep track of it. So when it doesn't come true, nobody's holding their feet to the fire and saying what you said was utter and total crap. But no, nobody seems to care. So, but we do care, and we want you to hold my feet to the fire if any of this stuff comes out and is not true. So all of the various ways that you can contact us will be at the end of the show, and just let me have it if it doesn't come true. And one of two things will happen. Number one, if it's the first time you've contacted us, you'll get a woody. Number two, I will completely deny ever having said or believed any of those things. So
even though it's on record.
Even though it's on, and you can go back and listen to old podcasts and watch videos. I will require proof. Yes. So, but let's talk about what's in the alleged pipeline. The number one, I think we can pretty safely say this one is a no-brainer. New processor. Biggest thing is the potential release of Apple's next silicone processor, the M3, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be called the M3. I'm looking into the future. M3. This has a way of making old things new again. Like the M2, the M3 will have an 8-core CPU with a split between high performance and energy efficient cores of 4 and 4, 10 GPU cores to round out the standard one. So just the plain M3, that's what it's going to have. The performance change will be down to the differences between the M2's 5 nanometer process and the M3's 3 nanometer process. While it should provide more performance and better efficiency, it's going to be impossible to tell until there's some finished products. Guy speaks badly today. Film at 11 to make real comparisons to. And as far as the rest of the lineup, there'll be an M3 Pro with 12 to 14 cores and 18 to 20 GPU cores. And quite naturally, the Max and Ultra processors will have even more of both. But which one Apple is going to put them in first is the question, Gaz. Because it seems to me that the M3 is going to be more with the smaller process is going to be more in line with better battery efficiency, things along those lines. So I think the first models out of the gate with the M3 is going to be updated MacBooks. So several models that could take full advantage of it would be like the MacBook Pro. And I think that they'll be the first ones. Then I don't believe that there will be a big design change, but honestly, do they really need it? Is there a reason to update the MacBook Pros just because it's a new MacBook Pro as far as the design goes? I don't think there is. Now, the 3 MacBook Airs were more recently refreshed with a new design, so it may be a while before they're blessed with M3 goodness. Now, as far as the desktops go, that's a bit of a crapshoot. You've got the Mac Mini and iMac, which are both due for some refresh models, especially the iMac. The big question may be, will it be a larger iMac? Now, I know that you and I had talked about this before, and everything from 32 inches has been speculated, but I honestly think that for the consumer market, which is where the iMac is focused on, 24 inches makes more sense than making a bigger one. And I've heard some analysts talk about an iMac Pro, but I honestly think that those days are gone. I don't think Apple sold a lot of them, and I don't believe that they're going to bother with it this time around. I think it's going to stick to 24 inches with pretty much the same kind of port layout. And that's what it's going to look like. Would you agree with that, or do you think that they will make them larger?
I had a thought that initially, when we first talking about this, probably 6 to 8 months ago, that they would come out with a 32-inch screen. But the more I go on, I think they quite like the size of that 24-inch iMac, and it seems to be a reasonable seller for them. So they won't change that unless they really, because obviously it's going to be more cost for them.
Sure.
So and
more cost for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they won't swallow it, but they've got it at a reasonable price point. So I'm kind of going back on what I originally thought. Maybe not. Maybe they'll just stick with that 24.
Okay. The other one that they likely could update first would be the Mac Mini, which is kind of a classic design at this point, and its size and port configuration makes sense for what it is. So I don't see any real big changes there either. You and I, we both have Mac Minis, and if there was one change that I would make to the Mac Mini, which they made in the M2, which would be more Thunderbolt ports, and they did that. So frankly, the design of the M2 Mac Mini, I think is good. I think it's a good design. It wasn't enough of a change for me to spend, how much money I would have had to have spent to get it. So I think the Mac Mini will be one of the first M3 desktop Macs to be released, and that there won't be a big change in its design.
Cool. Yep.
Okay. The M2 Mac Pro was just released last June. So while an M3 powered one might make sense, this is not a big sales mover. So the higher selling models will probably be the first in the pipeline, the iMacs and the Mac Minis. There will be an M3 Mac Pro, but I think that will be one of the last ones to be released. And Apple could also double back on us and drop it into the prosumer Mac Studio first as well. But I'm still kind of leaning toward the Mac Mini being first, the Mac Mini and iMac, and then the Mac Studio, and then the Mac Pro as far as M3 goes.
Cool. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, Apple has other products too, Gaz. Did you know that? Have you been following Apple for a while?
No, that I've only got just one product from Apple. Just one product. That's all they do, isn't it? Just one.
It's
product.
those wired earbuds, isn't it? That's what you got.
Yeah.
They're great. That's like a gateway product for people with wired earbuds.
Does seem to be, doesn't it?
Yeah. So some of these other products, like the Apple TV, that keeps living on years after I predicted it was going to go app only, which kind of shows what I know. Before the end of the end of this year, I think that there'll be a refreshed Apple TV along with some newly processored, because that's a word, iPads and an AirPod Maxes to drop into rich people's stockings. I think those are some of the products that I think are going to be out before the end of the year for the holiday buying season. Now, the hardest part of all of this is trying to figure out a timeline for release dates. And I haven't mentioned timelines for the most part. If Apple announces the M3 before the end of the year, I think new MacBook Pros could be announced at the same time. However, they may wait until after the next year or the new year And quite frankly, Apple goes by its own schedule and has no reason at all to push out stuff early just to please some podcasters and analysts. So that's what I got. What if you were going to put on your Kreskin thinking hat, what do you think the next stuff will be?
I'm just trying to see, because I don't remember you. Did you say iPads?
Yes.
That's what I think is going to be the next device that's going to be, and it's not going to be an event, but it's just, I think they're going to update them.
Yeah,
and I think they're going to be
just a
releasing them.
press release.
Yeah, absolutely. But other than that, I think the rest of it, I kind of agree that that's all analytical stuff there, Guy.
Huh.
I think I'm going to agree with you on that.
You are nodding like crazy, and I wasn't.
I am.
But now I am.
Hit it.
Cool.
Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
It's time for
Gaz's tip.
There it is.
This one was a bit of a scratch your head, Guy. I don't know whether you use it, but do you use Command Tab to then go through? Because you then get, obviously, I think I've done this tip before, where you can go through and then I think if you press Shift Tab, it then goes backwards through the option of applications which are open to you. Well, that obviously will switch to a current active app that you've got open. However, I can't remember whether I mentioned that if that app that you've got open and active is sitting on the dock and not active somewhere on your desktop, if you push your tab button and scroll to it and then it doesn't open, you kind of go, I know it's open. It's there. Why hasn't it opened? Well, it hasn't opened because it's sitting on your dock.
Yeah,
so what to do, Guy? What to do? So while you're going Command and Tab and you're going through and you get to that particular app which didn't open, don't worry about getting your mouse and finding the application and starting it. Just go through Command Tab again. And when you get to that application, release the Tab button, but then put your finger on the Option key. And then if you release the Command key, that app will then jump as the focused app in front of you.
Really?
Now, yes. So I've got to a point where I can actually release the Command key and the Option key at the same time, just slightly different so that app opens. But that takes a little bit of practice. The way to do it is to go through. If it doesn't open, do the same thing again. And when you get there, just press your finger on the Option key, release the Command key, then release the, in fact, I think if you release the Command key, the app opens automatically and then you can just do whatever you need to do in that application. Isn't that good?
It is. I have Audio Hijack hidden right now, so it's not on my desktop. And I was really, really tempted to go through that and do that. But it was like, that is like an active application that I am using for a crap ton of stuff right now. Do you really, really want to take that chance that something will go horribly, horribly wrong?
Well, I've just done it and it's opened up in front of me. So I can now put it back down onto the dock.
Terrific. I'm still not going to do it.
And I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Hit it. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips.
Is that the end of the tip?
Will you let me finish?
Gaz, you are absolutely right.
There we go. All right. And I'm not going to hit it again like I did last week because that was badong, which is
Badonga.
a combination of bad and wrong at the same time.
Yeah. Badong.
Badong.
Bading dong.
Don't do things that are badong. We have no feedback. We have no picks. And it's like I'm scrolling through our show notes and it's like there's just nothing there. What do I do? If you would like to help support the show, and there's absolutely no reason why you can or couldn't, or I'm going to start again. If you would like to help support the show, it's so easy to do so. Just go on over to Patreon, patreon.com/MacPettit. You can also go on over to Coffee.
Sorry. Now I've got the delay again through Farrago. So I'm going to do manual things.
Really? Just remember, this is a family-friendly show, guys.
It is.
We're also going to do You can also support. Wow, just completely mind blown.
Thrown you.
You can
Yeah,
also
thrown
go
you.
to coffee, ko-fi.com/MacParrot. Or if you would like to only do that through PayPal, and there's absolutely no reason why you could not, that would be paypal.me/MacParrot. Now, Gaz,
Yes.
if people wanted to contact you and say, what the hell is wrong with Farrago this week, how would they do that?
I don't know what's wrong with Farrago, but it's got about a 3-second delay when coming through, I think. So there you go. Anyway, I've got the Z cars going because you can contact me on lots of social media by going to Gazmaz, on all the sorts of social media you can expect. And I'll just give you one little variant, which is Mastodon, where you have to go to gazmaz@c.im. That's GAZMAZ. GAZMAZ on all the socials. You can also send an email to gaz@mymac.com. You can also contact Guy and myself on a certain specific X-Files social media, which is Guy and Gaz, GYANDGAZ. You can also you can will you let me finish? You can also send an email to feedback @mymac.com. You see, I'm trying to get through these as quickly as I possibly can to try and stop you from jumping in on me. Now, Guy, because of the delay that I've got, just give me a second, because what I'm going to do is this.
His name was Guy.
Guy.
Guy? No fooling.
Guy's the one. You remember Guy?
Guy says.
Do we know it was a guy?
We do.
Guy was paid his 75 grand. So.
I wish.
I like to go with Guy.
No fooling.
And if you would,
second one, and you did it twice.
Yeah, and if you would like
an email.
How would they do it?
Oh, it is so easy. You would go and send that email to Guy, absolutely no delay because of Farrago, at mymac.com. You can also contact me on all of the socials. I am Mac Parrot just about everywhere. And I am also over on the X's. I'm Vert Shark there. You can also go to vertshark.com, which has not been updated in a really, really long time. Because nobody's
You say that every week. So why do you tell people if you don't update it? Just tell them when you've updated it.
I want them to tell me if they're actually going. If you go,
they're not going to go. If they're not going,
let me know.
Yes, but if they went weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks ago, and you keep telling them you've not updated it, they're not going to tell you that they've been, because you've told them you've not updated it. So there's no point in them going.
I'm not following your logic, though.
Well, you should.
Oh, I really, really should. And we have a Skype telephone number that they can call us and say, I'm not going to your stupid website. And that number is 1 or +1 outside the United States, 703-436-9501. That number again is 1 or +1 outside the United States, 703-436-9501. Or get rid of the 1 or +1, go right to Skype and just dial 703-436-9501. Now, Gaz, there is one other number that will soon probably be our exclusive number. And what is that number?
It's a Google Voice number, Guy, which is 703-828-4677.
That is a wonderful number. Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were going to go.
No, I'm not going to do it again. No,
he's not going to. So if you didn't hear that it was 703-828-4677 the first time, too bad.
They did.
You don't get to hear it again.
They did, though.
Too bad. So I would like to say to all of you, for the second week in a row, thank you. Thank you. Thank you all so very, very much. It is greatly appreciated that you have downloaded and listened to the MyMac.com podcast. We love it that you have done so. And Gaz, I think that we're Woof, 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 Wilf. That
Woof,
amazing
woof.
dog.
Thanks for that.
Sure.
Guy,
Yes.
what do you call somebody with no body and no nostrils?
Tell me.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody. No. End.
So you can all go home and there's nothing to worry about. Get out of here now. Go on. Go on home and I go home.